College basketball is back in the 3-1-5 as Syracuse hosts the in-state foe Buffalo Bulls. Both teams coming off victories, with the latter being more of a comfortable victory. The Bulls coming off a 90-62 victory over the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. As they opened up Mid-American play earlier in the week. Syracuse having a impromptu matchup against the Northeastern Huskies from Boston, Massachusetts. A matchup that was scheduled in just 48 hours, as the Orange seemed to struggle on all cylinders, unless your name was Quincy Guerrier and Joe Girard III, as Buddy Boeheim and Alan Griffin only combined for 2 points in a 62-56 victory over the Huskies. And Syracuse was opening up as a 18 or so point favorite. They opened up as a 10.5 point favorite just before tip-off from the Carrier Dome in the beautiful city of Syracuse, New York, my hometown. And this is going to be quite the challenge for Syracuse as they take on a higher mid-major in Buffalo. A lot of people over the years believe that the Bulls should jump ship to the American Athletic and meet the level of competition, as a lot of people believe that the Mid-American is just not doing it for Buffalo nowadays, as their competition and play style has elevated. And this game, this 6 o'clock tip-off game from Syracuse, marks a very busy day within the ACC, as 8 of the 15 ACC teams are in action, or either have been in action, are currently in action, or will be tipping off just a little bit later if you are Florida State. However, this is obviously the most exciting game on the docket today, as the Syracuse Orange looking to move to 6-1, as the Orange are looking to put together 3 straight wins. Their only loss, obviously, in the ACC Big Ten Challenge to the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, a very talented Rutgers team. But looking back again with the Syracuse Northeastern game, it was a game that we saw Syracuse struggle really on every single end of the floor, as the offense was not clicking at most times. The Orange really having to rally from at most of a 6 or 7 point second half deficit. So there were plenty of times that we saw the Huskies knocking on the door of an upset victory over a Power 5 squad, the first in a while for Northeastern. And in terms of the Huskies were nailing threes, and that really disrupted the Syracuse Stars in Buddy Boeheim, the son of head coach Jim Boeheim, the Hall of Famer, and Alan Griffin, the transfer from Illinois. Now, the sophomore from Montreal, Quincy Guerrier, a 6'7" forward from Montreal, had himself a day. 18 points, 16 rebounds versus Northeastern to get it done against the Huskies on all ends of the floor, whether it be on the outside or on inside in the paint. And in terms of the Bulls' 28-point victory over the Miami, Ohio Redhawks in conference play, the team has really just been really clicking on all areas of the court, especially individually. Janithan Williams, the Rochester native, coming back home in a sense, just down the road in Syracuse, and he has been one of the most surprising players for head coach Jim head coach Jim Witzel, who's in his second year with the Bulls, replacing the formerly successful head coach in Nate Oates, who is now at Alabama. But back to Williams, he's the junior from Rochester that is averaging 20 points per game and 8.6 rebounds per game. So Williams is truly stuffing the stat sheet in his third year in Buffalo. But his most notable game was a 28-12 showing against the Towson Tigers in their season opener, and it's not like he has had a drop off in terms of offensive production as the junior and Rochester native is shooting nearly 43% from downtown. So a very successful junior campaign is in the works for this forward from Rochester. And also looking down the line for Buffalo, they have a very deep bench, and look for the Bulls to utilize that in high pressure situations against Syracuse. And we're also looking at Javon Graves, the senior from Melbourne, Ohio, 6'3". He's averaging just north of 16 points per game, and he's had two 20-point games this season. Obviously, the Bulls have only played 5 games this season, but putting up two 20-point games for the Bulls. And Ronaldo Segu, the junior from Orlando, Florida. This is a pair, one of the players from a pair of standout basketball players from the city of Orlando. But Segu, 6 foot, 13.6 points per game, and he is shooting 46% from the field, 22-5 versus the Bowling Green Falcons in their conference opener. Also looking at Keyshawn Bruton, the senior from Spartanburg, South Carolina. He's 6'2". And one player that I would like to really highlight is David Skogman. He's a freshman from Waukesha, Wisconsin. He really brings size inside and out for this Buffalo team. 6'10". He's averaging 5.5 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game. So he's not stuffing the stat sheet, but he is certainly a player that is going to be heavily relied on during the course of this season, and is going to be a player that the Bulls are going to have to tap into if they're going to get through a heavily contested Mid-American Conference as the MAC, also known as the MAC, has plenty of teams that could cut down the nets in March, as the Ohio Bobcats, the Toledo Rockets, the Bowling Green Falcons, like we've mentioned as well. Miami of Ohio has also shown signs of life within the early portions of the conference slate. So Buffalo really has it all. The Orange and Bulls have not met since the 2018-19 season. That was with the historical 32 win team for Buffalo, which was resulted in a 71-59 loss to the Bulls for the Orange, and that snapped an 18-game winning streak that was well over the course of 2 to 3 decades for Syracuse. And Syracuse leads the all-time series 28-6. This dates back to 1918, when the first matchup between Syracuse and Buffalo was. And the Bulls, they have 2 all MAC selections, and the first being Javon Graves, the senior from Melbourne, Ohio. He was selected to the first team all Mid-American preseason team. And also another player is Josh Mabala. He is a junior from France who's averaging 7-5 in the early goings of the season. He was selected to the second team all Mid-American in the preseason, and it was an exciting. It's an exciting component once you have two players rather that are a all conference selection. And going back to the home team with the Syracuse Orange, They've obviously tapped into their two stellar freshmen in Kadari Richmond, the freshman from Brooklyn, and Woody Newton, the freshman from District Heights, Maryland. And Kadari Richmond, the former, has really shown signs that he is going to be a lethal offensive unit for Jim Boeheim as his years progress in the orange and white. As Kadari had 16-7 versus Niagara, which was a 30-point win over the Purple Eagles. And this is going to be, quite honestly, a very exciting matchup between two teams that have the ability to make a run in their conference. The Orange slated 6th in the ACC in the preseason poll, and no ACC selections, as the Orange are quite accustomed to in the preseason. However, that does not matter, as they have seen quite the offensive and defensive production from the likes of Buddy Boeheim, the junior from the Syracuse area. Like we mentioned, the son of Jim Boeheim, the head coach, who is now in his 45th season, and 965 and 399 overall at Syracuse. However, that is widely contested and widely debated amongst Syracuse fans. And the infamous 2003 national championship under Jim Boeheim's belt, Coach of the Year in 2010 as well. And versus Northeastern, going back to the Wednesday struggle fest for Syracuse, Buddy Boeheim and Alan Griffin were just 1 for 16 combined from the field, and Guerrier, he was tremendous. He's 9th in the ACC, first in field goal percentage and second in rebounds for this Orange squad and within the ACC. And he had himself a day, as we've mentioned, 18 points, 16 rebounds, a career high in rebounds for the sophomore. And it was truly him fueling the offensive and defensive battles on the glass, as Guerrier was an all-around player, and him along with Gerard, who put up 21 points. And in watching the Syracuse game, that was pretty interesting to see how Gerard, who many Syracuse fans and media personnel alike have seen the Syracuse sophomore really come out of the gates in a slump, if you will, and he has had a quite the successful back-to-back games, the first being against Boston College, which was a 38-point blowout win to start ACC play, and the next being the Wednesday win against the visiting Northeastern Huskies, where he had 21 points. However, despite the great scoring outlets of Gerard and Guerrier, 3-point shots did not come easy to the Orange. They were just 2 for 18 from downtown, shooting just 11% from that category in a game that saw it was a complete contrast into the game that was last Saturday, when the Orange shot a school record 16 3-pointers against the Eagles. And that is going to be honestly a key to victory for Syracuse. Don't live and die by the three, which as a Syracuse fan, I have been a Syracuse fan for my entire life. Like I mentioned, a Syracuse native, and I have seen countless times this Orange squad and teams in the past living and dying by the three, and that has been almost sometimes the kryptonite for a team once they can't get anything inside or in the paint or fast break points or can't tap into their bench. They just live and die by that 3-point shot, and that could be a potential offensive hindrance for this Syracuse squad, and that is going to be something to watch for. And also, another key to victory is keeping Guerrier and Joe Girard hot, not only from the 3-point line, but also from inside and on the free throw line. As the beautiful Carrier Dome, newly renovated Carrier Dome, is set to get the Orange and Bulls underway from the 3-1-5 as the Bulls are led by Angus Thorpe, the acting head coach, as Jim Whitesell is out due to COVID-19 protocols, and the Orange, obviously led by legendary Hall of Famer Jim Boeheim, as it will be the Orange in white and the Bulls in black. Quincy Guerrier with the tip, and the Bulls will control it as the Janithan Williams, the Rochester native, pulling it down for the Bulls. And they have the backdoor cut, and that's an easy, quick bucket. The first 10 seconds, and the Bulls are on the board. And your starting five for Syracuse, Joe Girard III, just down the road in the Auburn area. Buddy Boeheim, Alan Griffin, Guerrier, and Marek Dolezaj. And it's a two-handed slam for Quincy Guerrier, the Montreal native, with the two-handed flush inside. And for Buffalo, Javon Graves, Ronaldo Segu, Janithan Williams, Trevon Fagan, and David Skogman getting the start for Buffalo. Skogman, the last of the starting five. He is the freshman from Wisconsin. And the Bulls will take it back inside. Segu. And that three won't connect for Buffalo. And a foul on the Bulls as Quincy Guerrier hits the deck. It'll be going the other way. And Quincy Guerrier, he is really, he reminds me of his grittiness and his rebounding ability, as Girard will dribble it up. Guerrier reminds me of so much of the great Syracuse. The backdoor cut from Dolezaj as Alan Griffin, the Illinois transfer, gets an easy two. Guerrier reminds me a lot of Scoop Jardine and Trevor Cooney, willing to get those rebounds, and that was off the hands of Boeheim, so it'll stick with the Bulls. Sloppy ball handles from the visiting squad as Buffalo gives it off into the hands of Segu. Back to Williams. Into the hands of Segu. Segu for three. That won't fall. Griffin with the tip. Rather, Guerrier, and he'll hand it off to Girard, the half-court pass to Boeheim. Boeheim using his physicality. That won't fall. The second chance. Book it, Buddy Boeheim, as the offensive production has been clicking in the early goings for Syracuse. They're up by 4, 2 minutes gone. And it is Graves getting it inside to number 24, and an easy basket in traffic as it's Janithan Williams getting it to go. And Girard being guarded heavily. Dolezaj gives it off to Boeheim. Boeheim in the paint, looking for someone. The reversal, that's good. Buddy Boeheim has a quick 4 points, and he is saying there is no way we are going back into a slump like we saw on Wednesday. The Orange up by 4 as Segu has the ball. Gives it off to Graves. Graves, the first team all Mid-American selection. He'll drive in. No, but he gets his own miss, and that will go as the putback from Graves. And back and forth offense from both teams. As Girard gives it into Boeheim. Boeheim being guarded by Williams. And is a foul on Janithan Williams as the Bulls racking up an early 2 fouls as Buddy Boeheim will go to the charity stripe. And great physicality, but couldn't get the and one. But Boeheim will be at the line 4-2. And he sinks the first. And a junior who did his latter years in high school at Brewster Academy, as Boeheim connects on the second one, back to a 4-point game. Boeheim has went to Brewster Academy to finish out his high school campaign, as he was as Brewster Academy in New Hampshire has been the premier basketball academy in the Northeast, and he is really one of the better players to come out of the Syracuse area, as Segu cashes in on the three. Gerard gives it off to Boeheim. Boeheim to Dolezaj. Dolezaj thought about it. He'll give it off to Guerrier, and he'll get it to go. Guerrier inside, and Guerrier has a quick 6 points. Janithan Williams for three from the right side. That's good. Book it for Janithan Williams. The Rochester native making it rain from the 3-1-5. Boeheim off the mark. Buffalo with the board. Here comes Graves. Graves kicks out to Williams. Williams again from the left side this time. And Janithan Williams is feeling it for the Bulls as the Bulls take the early 3-point lead. And Boeheim can't get that to fall, as that was potentially tipped by Graves. And here comes the Bulls. Ronaldo Segu, a junior from Florida, 13.6 points per game. That won't fall for the block out by Gerard. Here comes the Orange. Boeheim's got numbers, and through traffic, and he'll draw another foul, as Buffalo now has 3 team fouls in the early goings, as we're about 5 minutes into this first half from the Carrier Dome. The visiting Buffalo Bulls are leading by 15-14 from the Salt City. And one interesting component, we obviously mentioned Janithan Williams, a player that has honestly surprised as we've seen him hit back-to-back threes for this Buffalo team, and that can be really, as we mentioned, Syracuse not living and dying by the three. That can be said for the same. It can be said for any team across the country, whether you're a high major or a mid-major like Buffalo. So it will be interesting to see, as the Bulls have really been lighting it up from three-point land in the early goings, as the Bulls are truly a three-point shooting team, and this Buffalo team, I'm really excited to see what the likes of Janithan Williams, Javon Graves, Ronaldo Segu, Keyshawn Bruton, once he gets onto the court for UB. And also, it's interesting to see that David Skogman is getting the start for the Bulls tonight, as Skogman is, yes, he brings size inside and out. However, he is not really he's not really a offensive powerhouse in the early goings in his first year suiting up in blue and white, in this case black and blue tonight, but he does bring potential, and I like him in winning one-on-ones on the glass, getting the rebounds on the right on the weak side, or on the elbow. And this is a Buffalo team that is shooting, has already had three pointers. So if you're Buffalo, you're liking what you're seeing right now in the early goings of the first half, as you have 15 points, and 12 of those are from 3-point shots, as Buffalo 6 for 11 right now, Syracuse 6 for 9. So both teams having quite the hot hand in the early goings, but it is Buffalo with the 15-14 lead with 15:04 left in the first half, as we are back, as the Bulls, and coming off a back-to-back threes from Janithan Williams, and the Bulls are not the only. Janithan Williams, Graves, Segu, Mabala are not the only players that are worth highlighting for this UB team. Trevon Fagan getting the start, the Waterloo, Iowa native, 4 points per game and 4 rebounds per game as Boeheim's at the free throw line. He sinks. And he sinks the free throw and gets the old-fashioned three-point play, knots it back up at 15. As Graves gives it off to Segu. Segu at the top of the key, back inside. The first mentioning from Josh Mabala, the junior from France. And that will be the first foul as is a reset. 20 on the shot clock. And Mabala is definitely a player to look out for, the junior from France, as he'll go inside, being guarded by Dolchai, and a filthy rejection by the Orange defense. But it's Mabala going behind for the score, his first 2 of the game. And we're also seeing a first look at Brock Bertman, the senior from Apple Valley, Minnesota. Griffin for 3. That won't fall. Guerrier with the tip, and it is off the fingertips of Quincy Guerrier, and it is going back to Buffalo. Mabala with the inbound. And Syracuse, with the white script uniforms, which many fans, including myself, say that they're cursed. But that is for another day, as Graves gives it inside. Back to Burton. Graves inside. And a not-so-contested basket won't fall. The Orange offense resets. Dolezaj driving the lane, and that will go as Marek Dolezaj, the senior from Slovakia. Bratislava, Slovakia, as he gets it to go, knots it up at 17. Inside. Segu. Mabala, as he elevates over Dolezaj, and back and forth chippiness by the Orange and the Bulls, as Gerard will dribble it up court. Gives it off to Boeheim. Boeheim. No, that won't fall. Here comes the Bulls. The Bulls have numbers. As it's Segu. Yes. He cashes it in with the alley-oop down the court, and the Bulls have extended their lead to 4. 21-17 Buffalo. Dolezaj at the top of the key gives it off to Gerard. Gerard cuts inside to Boeheim. The pump fake by Dolezaj into Griffin. Griffin for 3. That won't fall. The weak side rebound to Buffalo, as that will allow the 2-3 zone to reset for Syracuse. As Mabala inside. He's been able to do it inside, but that won't fall. Guerrier pulls it down. Here comes the Orange. Gerard with the pass to Guerrier. Guerrier going inside, being guarded, and it's a foul on Buffalo. That'll be their 4th foul, the first on Brock Bertram, the senior. And going inside, trying to go for the basket, and yep, that is on the arm of Guerrier as he sinks the first. And we mentioned Quincy Guerrier has the ability to score in high amounts. The sophomore averaging just close to 16.5 points per game, put up 18 as we see Bertram go to the line as Guerrier can't finish on the back end of the 2 free throws. And Guerrier obviously putting up 18 points as Graves with the sneaky pass and the rejection by Dolezaj, but there will be a foul on Syracuse as Mabala going to the basket. He'll shoot a pair, as that's the first Syracuse foul and the first on Marek Dolezaj. Mabala connects on the first one using all edges of the rim, and seeing the first looks of Kadari Richmond, the freshman from Brooklyn, New York, has stolen all the headlines in Syracuse as Mabala can't get it to go into the hands of Griffin. And Richmond, the freshman from Brooklyn, 7.8 points per game and 4 assists per game, so definitely a ball handler as he gives it off to Griffin. Griffin going inside, being guarded by David Nickelberry, the Orlando native. And Dolezaj going inside, and he is rejected, but gives it off to Guerrier. Guerrier for three. No, that won't fall. Mabala using his size. He'll kick it out. And no basket. As the ball will be coming the other way. As the Orange are looking to get it done, but it is Buffalo with the 4-point lead over Syracuse in the early goings of this half, approaching the halfway point of this first half, and the Bulls are really getting a lot from Josh Mabala, the 6'7" forward, the 6'7" power forward, and he's truly. I haven't seen him personally play since the game against Syracuse in the 2018-19 campaign when Mabala was a freshman. But I'm liking what I am seeing from on the offensive side of the floor for Buffalo in the early goings. The Bulls 10 rebounds for the Bulls. They're winning the battle on the glass right now, and we're seeing Guerrier get heated up, and inside he's taken on a role that has seen him elevate his 3-point shot game, and will be that will be a X factor for this Syracuse team as ACC play, as the thick of ACC play is right around the corner, and this that was a key to the game. Get Guerrier and Girard hot. The latter has definitely cashed in with the buckets, but Girard still hasn't made a shot yet. As Joe Girard 0 for 1 from the field, and Guerrier leading the Orange with 5 points. In the early goings. However, it is Janithan Williams leading all scorers. He's already in double figures, and we're not even halfway through the first half, as he has 10 points and 10 points and 1 assist for this Bulls offense. And looking back, obviously Jim Whitesell, he is out due to COVID-19 protocols. So the assistant head coach Thorbs is in with the interim duties, but Whitesell has quite the extensive coaching history, and it goes even into the D1, D2, and D3 level, which that shows the versatility of Whitesell. 23-13 overall at Buffalo, and 395 and 320 overall. So he is going to most likely get his 400th win this season, 400th career win. So congratulations to the coach. And he coached at Elmhurst from 1987 to 1992, 64 and 68 with Elmhurst. Made it to the 1992 D3 NCAA tournament, and coached with Lewis from 1992 to 2004, and was 202 and 134 with that D2 team. Saw Lewis go to the D2 tournament with 4 times, and then most recently in the D1 ranks with Loyola Chicago, obviously before the Sister Jean era, coaching the Ramblers from 2004 to 2011. As we are back from the Carrier Dome, as Graves gives it off to Nickelberry. Nickelberry back to Graves, inside to Mabala, and the backdoor inside cut won't fall. As the Bulls turn it over, as Skogman couldn't control the pass. Richmond off to Griffin. Gives it back to Boeheim. Boeheim going inside. The mismatch. Dolezaj, and a foul will be called on David Skogman, as the Bulls are racking up fouls. 5 team fouls thus far in the early goings, and we are not even 9 minutes gone in this second half. Excuse me, in this first half, rather. Dolezaj at the line for 2. He's 7th in the ACC in free throws, 86%. from the charity stripe. As Woody Newton replaces Alan Griffin, the freshman from District Heights. Dolajai for the second end of the 2 free throws. As that hits the front iron. Williams with the rebound. He'll give it off to Nickelberry. Back to Williams. Williams has had the hot hand from 3. Williams being guarded with the double team. Inside cut as the Bulls bobble it. Here comes Syracuse. Boeheim. Back to Guerrier. Back to Boeheim. Inside cut to Guerrier. Guerrier through traffic, and he is fouled as he'll go back to the free throw line as the Orange are now in the bonus as they are foul, as the foul will go on Josh Mabala. As Graves, the only starter that does not have a foul, as Guerrier sinks the first. The Orange pulling within 2. And that is going to be an interesting factor in this game as Guerrier connects on both, is whether Buffalo is going to stay out of foul trouble. Five team fouls already as Skogman, who is on the bench, has the other team foul, but it is the Bulls. As the Bulls will kick it out inside and a kicked ball. 10:22 on the game clock, 20 on the shot clock as there's a reset. Guerrier, the double machine, as the Bulls trying to get it in bounds. They'll pass a half court. As they get it inside, Mabala travels, and another turnover by Buffalo as the turnover is starting to pile up as they now have 4 turnovers. That's the second Mabala turnover. Here comes the Orange. Freshman giving it off to freshman. Here inside to Kadari. He'll try and get something done. He won't get it to fall, and it's tipped out. Bulls have numbers. And an offensive foul as it is Woody Newton taking the charge from Buffalo, and the Bulls turn it back over as that was number 20 charging at Woody Newton, both hitting the deck. But it is Kayshawn Bruton with the turnover, the junior. The Orange settling back into the offense. Kadari dishes it back into Boeheim. He'll go inside, and he can't get that to fall. And there's a foul on the play. Now, 8 team fouls on Buffalo thus far. 2 on the Orange, as the Orange will get a fresh 20. Boeheim will control the inbounding duties. Rather, no, actually, Dolajai going to the free throw line. A little bit of a mix up. Second trip for the Slovakian senior at the charity stripe. He can't get that one to fall into the hands of Bruton as the Bulls rebound. 9:36 left in the first half. As the Bulls have it blocked, but it is the Bulls count it and the foul as Ronaldo Segu gets it done. And the Bulls are going to cash in on the 3-point play. Off the blocked shot from Kayshawn Bruton, as it will be the Orlando native David Nickelberry going to the line for the old-fashioned 3-point play. Woody Newton taking a seat on the bench. Nickelberry connects, and the lead up to 4, tying the largest lead of the game for the Bulls. 25-21 Buffalo. Kadari controlling the point. Being guarded by Segu. Dolezaj off to Boeheim. Boeheim gives it to Griffin. Griffin being guarded by Bruton, and it's stolen away as Nickelberry will call for it into the hands, and it's a foul on Syracuse as LaQuill Hardnett, the sophomore from Philadelphia, hits the deck. And that will be the fourth team foul on Syracuse. And just about 9 minutes gone in this first half, as it has been a foul central for both squads, but especially Buffalo as they get inside quickly. Mabala trying to go. That won't fall, and it's off the hands of LaQuill Hardnett, and it will be Orange basketball. 8:49 to play. A passionate Jim Boeheim trying to get his team going. Kadari gives it off to Gerard. Gerard has had quite the quiet first half as he gives it off to Griffin. Griffin being guarded. Griffin looking for someone. He'll give it off to Richmond. 13 on the shot clock. Richmond being guarded by... And Richmond can't get it to fall, but Griffin with the rebound as they'll get a fresh 20. Gerard gives it off to being guarded by Segu. The screen. Gerard looking for something, and that won't fall. The rebound by Mabala, and here comes Buffalo. Mabala, coast to coast. Count it, and the foul as Josh Mabala gets it to go and won the coast-to-coast lay-in as the foul will be called on Marek Dolezaj. That's his second and team's fifth of the game. And Mabala with an early 7 points as Graves comes in and relieves Bruton of his duties. Seeing the first bit, speaking of replacements, seeing the first bits of John Bolajak for Syracuse. The sophomore from Sudan. Richmond with the rebound. And the Orange almost lose it. Griffin has it back. The risky pass to Gerard. Back in the hands of Guerrier. Guerrier at the top of the key being guarded by Mabala. Guerrier slips. And it's off the fingertips of John Bolajak, and another costly turnover for Syracuse. And Jim Boeheim not happy at the sophomore from Montreal as the Bulls lead 27-21, 7:48 left in this first half. And it has been all Bulls on the offensive end lately as they have their largest lead of the game by 6 points with just under 8 minutes to play. And we are seeing the bench scoring versatility from this Buffalo team, tapping into Janithan Williams on the 3-point line. Javon Graves getting it done inside, but I honestly want to highlight Josh Mabala. He has been physical against the Syracuse defenders and has really shown why he deserves to be recognized in the Mid-American Conference as one of the most prolific power forwards within the conference, and he is definitely a player that is going to be on the watch list for the end of the season awards if he can keep the really offensive production going for Coach Whitesell's group. And also we're seeing mainly all of the players to watch for have seen minutes. Trevon Fagan getting the start, the junior from Waterloo, Iowa. We've seen Brock Burtman inside, and the center, the 6'11" center who knows how to get it done on the glass as averaging 6.5 rebounds per game. We've seen him in also a little bit of LaQuill Hardnett, the sophomore from Philadelphia. He has seen some minutes, as well as David Skogman and David Nickelberry, the two Davids of the team, two kind of David and Goliaths, if you will, for this Buffalo team. And Keyshawn Bruton, also getting the senior from Spartanburg, South Carolina, also getting it, really getting it done. Not so much on the offensive side, but on the defensive side for Bruton. And how can we forget Ronaldo Segu from Orlando, Javon Graves from Ohio, and Janithan Williams from Rochester. And it is very exciting to see. It's very exciting to see a local player come back and play. Obviously, Rochester being about an hour and a half from Syracuse, an hour to an hour and a half from Syracuse. But it's always exciting to see a local, if you will, player come back to the Carrier Dome. And the Orange saw this with Bryant in their season opener, as Charles Pride was a Syracuse native, and the Orange have really had a lot of inconsistencies. It seems to be that they are hot one night, and then cold the next, as a 3-point shot in this ball game. The Bulls will, out of the timeout, dishing it into Mabala, and it's off the hands of Guerrier, and it will stay Buffalo basketball. 19 on the shot clock, as it will be Segu inbounding the ball for Buffalo. John Bolajok getting some extended minutes, as Segu dishes it inside. Inside, Mabala drawing the foul, and he'll go back to the free throw line. Another Syracuse foul, as Buffalo is now in the bonus. John Bolajok picking up the foul. That's the 6th team foul on Syracuse, as Mabala at the line for 2. He connects on the first one. And Buffalo has been quite lethal from the free throw line, as they're a perfect 4 for 4 from the charity stripe tonight, and as Mabala sinks both. And here comes the Orange trying to reset, trying to get something to go for in terms of offense, as Mabala just surpassed his season average in points. Now 9 points for the French native, as Kadari Richmond with the little shake and bake, as he gets it to go, the Euro step, as the Orange cut the lead to 6. Segu back in to Nickelberry. Nickelberry gives it back to Segu. 15 on the shot clock. Segu inside. Back to Segu for 3. Book it, as Ronaldo Segu extends the lead to 9, as Buffalo is really giving Syracuse all they can handle on the offensive end, as Dari Richmond gives it off to Alan Griffin. Griffin, the step back. That goes elevating, climbing the invisible ladder, as Alan Griffin gets the points. Nickelberry gives it off to Hardnett, as Segu looking for someone. He finds Hardnett. Hardnett going inside. Mabala through heavy traffic, and that will fall, as now Mabala he's now in double figures, as Josh Mabala now has 11 points. Gerard gives it off to Guerrier, the risky pass. Guerrier, that won't fall, and it's off the hands of Alan Griffin, as the struggles continue for Syracuse, as the Orange not getting anything going in terms of the offense, as the high-powered offense has really sort of wilted away for this SU team, as the Bulls will reset. Graves gives it off to Segu. Segu inside to Hardnett. Hardnett, his first basket of the game, the little kiss off the glass, as it is Laquil Hardnett getting his first points. He's shooting 77% from the free throw line, from the floor, as Richmond can't get it to fall, as Guerrier with the second chance miss, and that won't fall. Graves calling for it. That book it, and it's a 14-point lead as the visiting Buffalo Bulls off the Javon Graves three-pointer. Buffalo now leading 39-25 over Syracuse, really overwhelming Syracuse with the three-point production as the Bulls are feeling it from downtown. 5 for 10 from the three-point line, as we just saw Javon Graves being the latest Bulls player to cash in on the three-point shot, and the Bulls really taking it to Syracuse. And I'm not sure what it is with Syracuse. Going back to their December 2018 matchup against Buffalo, this was really the really on the docket in the 2018 matchup, and really a point of emphasis for Syracuse. And as the Orange struggled on the offensive end against Buffalo in that 12-point loss, having a minus 12, having a minus 12 differential against the Bulls, as Harnett uses the glass to kiss it in, and Graves with the three. So the Orange need, if they're going to try and get back into it, is it's been a 17-4 run over the past 5.5 minutes. They're going to have to get offense going, and not live and die by the three, as Richmond cuts inside. That is good to stop the bleeding, as Kadari Richmond cuts the lead to 12. Nickelberry getting the ball back from Mabala. Nickelberry being guarded by Richmond. Now by Boeheim. The kick out to Mabala. Now as it is back in the hands of Syracuse, as Buffalo steps out of bounds. Nickelberry with the turnover. Now we are seeing Brock Bertram back into the game. Mabala takes a much-needed rest. Josh Mabala has had quite the first half for the visiting squad. And here comes the Orange, fast. Boeheim, the quick release three. That won't fall. The weak side rebound for Buffalo, and they're in transition. Nickelberry giving it off to Graves. Graves has had the hot hand back into the hands of Segu. Segu gives it off to Graves. Back into the hands of Nickelberry. And that won't fall. And it will be Syracuse basketball off the hands of David Nickelberry. 4:11 to play in this ball game. Richmond once again running the point, being guarded by Segu, into the hands of Dolezaj. Dolezaj with the quick reversal, and he is fouled by Bertram at the 4-minute mark, and that will put Syracuse in the double bonus the rest of the way. So free throws coming the rest of the way for Syracuse, as the Orange need anything to go from the offensive side of the floor, as they're down tremendously, 39-27 against the visiting Buffalo Bulls, as we have seen Graves and Bertram and Janithan Williams has sort of quieted down a little bit, as the junior still with 10 points, 2 for 3 from beyond the arc. And it's going to be an interesting, I think, going to the conference races, as Buffalo is really getting into conference play and Mid-American play, and obviously they are going to be like we mentioned in the pregame, a force to be reckoned with within the conference this year, like they are pretty much every year for the past 5 years. However, I like what I'm seeing from mid-major conferences across the country, and really across the Mid-American. Like we mentioned, the depth of this conference, they've foregone the divisions, the East and West, as we are now in a COVID-19 season. But they have really foregone the divisions, and I think that's truly going to benefit a lot of teams, and primarily Buffalo, as they are getting more looks at Ohio, more looks at, let's say, Northern Illinois or Bowling Green, or Western Michigan. They are getting these quality looks with opponents, and they've also adopted the back to back games against the opponents for the same opponents, and I think that's going to be a thing to look forward to as multiple conferences across the country, primarily mid-major conferences, have done just that, and have been able to really get in and limit travel within their membered institutions due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and have really allowed for the for high quality basketball on back-to-back days. So Buffalo with the 39-27 lead over Syracuse, as the Orange need to look for answers, and they need to look for answers fast. It's 4 minutes to play for the first half, and coming up at the half, we'll look at other ACC teams and other Mid-American teams in action today, as a plethora of ACC teams were in action, 8 teams to be precise, and also the CBS Sports Classic. We saw the first game between UNC and Kentucky earlier in the afternoon, and Ohio State and UCLA from Cleveland, as well as top 25 scores, as the senior Merrick Dolezaj sinks both free throws, cuts the lead to 10, as the Bulls will now reset. Segu, back in the hands of Segu. He's at the top of the key. He's trying to get something going. He gives it off to Harnett. Graves, now with the ball being guarded by Boeheim, as the Bulls trying to get something going. They kick it out to Bruton. Bruton for 3. Book it, as Keyshawn Bruton, the senior, feeling it from downtown. The lead back to 13, as the Orange have yet to make a 3-point basket. Boeheim bubbling the ball, as Guerrier being guarded by Harnett. They got to go. 6 on the shot clock. Boeheim's pass blocked, and it will stay with the Orange with 5 on the shot clock and 3:04 on the game clock. The Bulls shooting 6 for 12 from downtown. The Orange, like we've mentioned, struggling mightily from the 3-point line. As the quick release, that is off the hands of Buffalo with 3 on the shot clock. A very prolonged possession for Syracuse. Is Boeheim, the quick release by Richmond. That won't fall, as Berman with the block out. Here comes the Bulls. And the Bulls, the rejection, the kick out. Here comes Graves. Graves to 3. That is blocked. And here comes the Orange. Kadari Richmond. He'll do the Euro step, and that will go. Kadari Richmond gives the answer for Syracuse, and much-needed basket for the Orange. The deficit down to 11. That's 20 points in the paint for the Orange. Another 3 by Buffalo. That won't fall. Guerrier tears down the rebound. Here comes the Orange, trying to cut into this lead. Richmond, a little miscommunication from Boeheim. Guerrier looking to get something going. He goes inside, gives it off to Griffin. Griffin going inside. The dish to Guerrier, and Alan Griffin with a nice dime as he passes it to his Sophomore teammate Quincy Guerrier for the easy lay-in, as the lead is now down to single digits off the Guerrier baskets. As Alan Griffin, known to drop dimes in the Illinois uniform, and is doing just that in the Syracuse uniforms, as Buffalo bobbles the ball. That won't fall. Richmond with the rebound, almost having his pocket picked. Richmond gives it off to Dolezaj. Dolezaj almost loses it. Boeheim for three. That won't fall. The shooting woes continue from beyond the arc. The alley-oop pass for the Bulls as Javon Graves cashes in. And a double dribble turnover by Kadari Richmond. And that is not going to make Jim Boeheim happy. A costly turnover, but it is the cross-court pass by LaQuill Harnett to Segu and then to Graves, as Javon Graves climbs the imaginary ladder to extend the lead to 11 points, 44-33, with just 71 ticks on the clock for this game from the Carrier Dome, as the Bulls lead big and by double digits. And Buffalo is really attacking the Orange on pretty much every single aspect of the defense. They've really cracked the code of the 2-3 of the 2-3 zone, and has spread Syracuse out significantly in the first half, and that is a storyline for this ball game, as the Orange look to really cut into this deficit before halftime, as it will be Buffalo basketball with 1:11 on the play clock, 20 on the shot clock. As Mabala inbounds to Segu. Mabala looking to give it to go. He gives it off to Segu. The alley-oop. That won't fall. No. The fight for the ball, and there's a foul on the play, and that will go against Quincy Guerrier. That's the 7th team foul on the Orange, as Graves goes back to the free throw line to shoot a pair. He connects. Nothing but nylon for the senior. And Graves, he gets it to go. He cashes in on both free throws. Under a minute to play in this ball game, as Richmond will dish it in to Dolezaj. Dolezaj being guarded. Dolezaj, the tough basket in the paint, as Dolezaj gets it to go. As the physicality from Marek Dolezaj to elevate over Brock Bertram. And the alley-oop from the Bulls to Mabala, as they extend the lead to 13. The largest lead of the game for Buffalo. Richmond trying to get something to go. They'll have the last shot. Richmond inside. Dishes it out to Griffin. Griffin for three. That won't fall. Dolezaj, the putback before the first half horn. And Marek Dolezaj having two back-to-back buckets, as the senior from Bratislava, Slovakia, has cut this lead to 11. But it is Buffalo, the visiting team from Western New York, is leading 48-37 in the Carrier Dome, as it is halftime from Syracuse, New York. And the Orange are a struggling team from the three-point line. We obviously mentioned a key to victory is don't live and die by the three, and it is looking like they're living and dying by the three. The last possession, one of the last possessions by Alan Griffin, the junior, was a three. Obviously, it was blocked and couldn't connect from downtown. But that is that's a tremendous weak point for Syracuse. They only made 2 points, two 3-point shots against Northeastern on Wednesday, and the Orange are 0 for 6, and they have not made a three-point basket since the second half of their game on Wednesday against the Huskies. And just looking at the peak performers for this Syracuse squad, Quincy Guerrier and Merrick Dolezaj, really the only offensive go-getters for this team, as the former Guerrier 3 for 6 from the field for 9 points and 6 rebounds. So he's stuffing the stat sheet in terms of the rebound department. And Dolezaj, it has been mentioned a lot, his physicality and his willingness to hit the deck through his obviously through the years and through the time that he's progressed through the Syracuse program. And he has 7 points and 2 rebounds and 2 assists as well, on 2 for 2 shooting. So he's perfect from the field, 3 for 5 from the charity stripe. Now looking at Buffalo, who's almost at the half century mark. We obviously know Janithan Williams has had the hot hand from the 3-point shot, 2 for 3 from the 3-point line. But that's really all we've seen from him in the early goings. He hasn't really scored since around the midway mark of the first half. And it has really been Javon Graves, 12 points on 4 for 8 shooting, 12 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds for the senior. And he has really been really the offensive go-getter for this team in the early goings. And Josh Mabala, we have mentioned his name a lot in the broadcast, as he's the junior from France, has 13 points, so he's well surpassed his 7-point average per game for the season. So look for Mabala and Graves to be the 2 offensive outlets in this second half. Now, looking elsewhere in the ACC, in the Mid-American first, Ball State taking on Indiana State in Terre Haute. The Cardinals can't get away with the victory as they lose 67-57 to a talented Indiana State squad, as this is an Indiana State team that is surely going to be in the running for a Missouri Valley title. The Cardinals fall to 3-3. Akron taking on Malone University, D2 Malone, as the Zips needed all they could get in the second half, as they put up 52 points in the second half and cash in a 93-83 victory over Malone, as the Zips now 2-1 on the season. The Zips being one of the teams that opened up their season quite later than their conference foes, obviously due to COVID-19 protocols within the team. Elsewhere, Toledo, the Rockets getting a huge victory over the Valparaiso Crusaders, a 71-57 victory over the Missouri Valley member, and the Rockets now 6-3 on the season, as the Rockets make the Crusaders fall to 3-5. It is a huge offensive performance by the Rockets, as Marion Jackson, 18 points for a Toledo team that needed it, and also posting up 6 rebounds for the team in blue and gold. And also, Mid-American basketball continues, as Miami of Ohio, a team we mentioned, losing to Buffalo by 28 points. They'll look to rebound as they're on the road against the Bradley Braves. So a lot of Missouri Valley Mid-American matchups in the early goings of the season for a lot of MAC teams, which obviously rightfully so. You're in the Great Lakes region, you're in the Missouri Valley region. It only makes sense to limit travel. Now, looking at the ACC, has had quite the eventful day. Things were kicked off with North Carolina and Kentucky rather, in the CBS Sports Classic. And we obviously know the struggles of this Kentucky team coming into this matchup 1-4. North Carolina, they're 4-2, and they're they're really a team that has not really been quite stellar themselves, either only beating North Carolina Central out of the Mid-American by 6 points. However, it was a much different ball game against the fellow Blue Blood in Kentucky, as the Tar Heels cash in a victory 75-63. The Wildcats now 1-5 on the season. 1-5 on the season for the first time since 1926. And according to the Elias Sporting Bureau, the only team to make it to the NCAA tournament as an at-large bid, or even as a bid to the NCAA tournament in general, were the Texas Longhorns in 1998-99 season. So the 1999 NCAA tournament. Can the Wildcats become just the second team to do it? I don't think so. The Wildcats have been a struggling team from the jump, even in their lone win against the Morehead State Eagles in their season opener. A truly struggling turn of events for Kentucky. They have two more, I guess, resume-boosting win opportunities for their team and for the NCAA tournament. Obviously, next Saturday against the Louisville Cardinals inside the Bluegrass State, they will stay. And then January 30th in the SEC Big 12 battle as they take on the Texas Longhorns. But that's going to be another tough battle, as the SEC has proven that it's not non-forgiving this season. Kentucky is the prime example of that during this season. And also elsewhere in the ACC, the Louisville Cardinals looking to go to 5-0, but they are not, as they lose in a rescheduled ACC Big Ten Challenge game against the Wisconsin Badgers. The Badgers coming into the game 12th in the nation, Chris Mack and the Louisville Cardinals 23rd, respectively. But it was all the Badgers, as the Badgers held a 41-18 lead at the break and cruised to an 85-48 drubbing of the shorthanded Louisville Cardinals. The Badgers now 6-1 on the season. Louisville falling to 4-1 as they handed their first loss of the season. Elsewhere in the Crossroads Classic, the ACC side of it, as an all-Indiana matchup, the first matchup being Butler in Indiana, with the Hoosiers winning it. But the second being the Notre Dame Fighting Irish taking on the Purdue Boilermakers. It was the Boilermakers who handed the Fighting Irish and Mike Bray's squad back-to-back losses in an 88-78 loss to the Boilermakers, as the Boilermakers now 6-2 on the season. And now we obviously know that Matt Harms was clearly a huge loss to Matt Painter's squad. However, this is a team that could potentially surprise in the ACC, in the Big Ten this year. And Notre Dame, they just beat Kentucky by 1 point, 64-63, but then lose by double digits to Purdue, 88-78. So the Fighting Irish now 2-4 on the season. The Boilermakers now moving to 6-2 on the season, as the Irish will be back in action against the squad we have now with Syracuse. And elsewhere in the ACC, the Miami Hurricanes escaping a potential brutal loss to fellow in-state foe Jacksonville, as the Hurricanes escape with a 73-64 victory. And the Hurricanes now 4-2 on the season, as the Canes have a Jim Larinaga squad, really a hard team to read in the ACC this season, as they're not. I believe that they're going to be a bottom dweller and at best a middle of the pack team in the conference. NC State blowing up what was a 2-point halftime lead over the visiting Campbell Fighting Camels, a 30-28 lead over the Fighting Camels from Boys Creek. Now that turned into a 19-point victory in a 69-50 victory, as the Wolfpack bounce back from their first loss of the season to the very talented St. Louis Billikens. But it was the Wolfpack and Braxton Beverly getting it done for the Wolfpack and Kevin Keats' squad. Elsewhere in the ACC, the Virginia Tech Hokies taking it to the Coppin State Eagles early on, as we're about midway through the second half, and it is all Hokies in Blacksburg as Virginia Tech leads Coppin State 70-38, and the Hokies looking to go to 6-1 on the season. And ending the ACC action will be number 15, Florida State. They're staying in the Sunshine State as they take on the Central Florida Knights, a team that we have not seen really blossom since 2019. And the Seminoles, Leonard Hamilton squad, believes that they can win the ACC this year, as they were picked in the top the top tier of the ACC. They're looking to go to 5-0. And elsewhere in the ACC, and in the top 25, we saw number 2 Baylor, who is likely to stay in their second-ranked position, obviously from the Gonzaga Bulldogs' victory. They dismantle the Kansas State Wildcats in their Big 12 opener in a 100-69 victory in Manhattan, in the Little Apple, as the Wildcats and Bruce Weber are not really a team that is going to be a force to be reckoned with. However, Drew Scott's team and the Baylor Bears are definitely, as the Bears remain undefeated at 5-0 on the season. And in the second game of the CBS Sports Classic, the number 20 Ohio State Buckeyes bouncing back from their Big Ten season opening loss to the Purdue Boilermakers. They topped the UCLA Bruins and Westwood 77-70 to move to 6-1 on the season and hand the Bruins their second loss of the season. UCLA will go back to Los Angeles at 5-2. And the premier matchup, a matchup that was merely made up on the spot, as the top-ranked Gonzaga Bulldogs battled it out with the third-ranked Iowa Hawkeyes in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and the Bulldogs and Jalen Suggs cashing it in. Jalen Suggs, 27 points for the freshman, as he needs to be considered for National Freshman of the Year. And Mark Few's squad moving to 4-0 on the season, as this was their first game since December 2nd, as they hand the Iowa Hawkeyes and Luka Garza their first loss. But it was the most points allowed by Iowa this season, 99 points. So Gonzaga close to the century mark from South Dakota today. But that is going to be a potential kryptonite. Obviously, we know that Iowa can get it done on the offensive end. However, they're a dreadful defensive team, obviously allowing 99 points today. But that could potentially be their kryptonite come Big Ten play. The Bulldogs win 99-88. And elsewhere in the top 25, 7th-ranked Villanova will have an all Philly matchup as they host the St. Joseph's Hawks. The Hawks looking to get their first win of the season, but it is going to be a tough task against Jay Wright and the Villanova Wildcats, as the Wildcats are looking to go to 7-1 on the season. They open up as a overwhelming 22-point favorite from the Pavilion in Philadelphia. But back to our ball game, as the Syracuse Orange are looking to erase an 11-point halftime deficit. They find themselves down 48-37 off the hot hands from Javon Graves and Josh Mabala from Buffalo. And this is a Buffalo team that is really always, it's seemingly always giving Syracuse a run for their money, whether it be in Buffalo or if it's in the Carrier Dome in Syracuse, New York. And it is going to be interesting to see how how Jim Boeheim revamps this offense and says to their team, says to guys like Gerard, like Alan Griffin, Buddy Boeheim, who seem to be in a slump today. Hey, get into the lane, get in with the backdoor cuts and get those easy baskets. You don't have to live and die by the three. And that's a fundamental principle that this squad needs to learn if they want to go deep in the ACC and beyond. But 48-37 is the game score for this ball game as the second half getting ready to tip off. The Bulls obviously winning that last meeting in December of 2018, 71-59, when the Bulls were 14th in the nation. The Bulls eclipsing the top 15 mark in the AP poll. They have won. The Orange will control this second half inbounds as Dolezaj inbounds to Girard as the Orange have a lot of work to do in the early goings of this game. Girard with the quick release. That will go as Girard elevates for the score, and he is now cut the lead to 9 points. Girard finally getting it to go on the scorecard. Mabala inside the double team as a foul. Jump ball, rather, and it will stay with Buffalo with 13 on the shot clock. And Girard with the quick release over the legs of Segu. Inside, and it's stolen away. Here come the Orange. And the Orange try and make it back-to-back baskets, can they? Girard thought about another quick release. He'll go inside, working it back in the hands of Girard. Being guarded by Mabala, a player that's definitely a lot taller than him. Girard looking for other outlets. He finds Dolezaj. Dolezaj taking it inside, almost has his pocket pick. Girard for three. That won't fall. That falls off the front end, and here come the Bulls. The Bulls trying to climb the invisible ladder, but that won't go. Mabala's miss, and here come the Orange. The Orange have numbers. Griffin driving it. He kicks it out to Buddy Boeheim. Buddy Boeheim for three. That won't fall. Dolezaj is there to pick up the slack. That won't go as well. And will remain Syracuse basketball, but the Orange 0 for 9 from 3-point range, and they are not going to get back into this ball game if they can't make 3-point baskets. As the Orange will get a fresh 20. Girard with the inbound. He'll give it off to Boeheim. Boeheim will be guarded heavily by the likes of Graves. Boeheim elevating. That won't fall. Mabala with the block out, but Girard with the steal, and Girard is known for his steals. Griffin for three. No, and another missed three. Now 0 for 10 from 3-point land. Oh, almost a turnover by Buffalo. Mabala looking for someone. As it is Graves, and it's Janithan Williams being able to pick up the slack off the Graves miss, the lead back to 11. 18 minutes to play. Girard gives it off to Boeheim. Boeheim going inside with the cut. That won't fall. Griffin, yes. But it is Quincy Guerrier actually being credited with the basket. The Bulls for three. Book it. Another Buffalo three-pointer. Those have come easy. That is by Ronaldo Segu. And the lead now eclipsing 12 points, 53-41. What will the Orange respond with? Griffin with the reversal. No, that won't fall. Buffalo pulls down the rebound. And the Euro step. Shake and bake by Buffalo as Janithan Williams gets it to go. As the Bulls now shooting over 50%, and their lead now back up to 14. Girard being guarded heavily. He'll release. That won't fall. Guerrier, the block out, and it will stay with Syracuse with 20 on the clock. Off the hands of Janithan Williams. So Boeheim inbounding it to Griffin. Griffin with the quick release. Gives it off to Boeheim. Boeheim looking for some options. Boeheim for three. No, that won't fall. And now 0 for 11. Mabala has numbers. He gives it off. And that will go as the lead, now their largest lead of the game. It's a 16-point ball game. Buffalo leads 57-41, and Jim Boeheim is not happy, and rightfully so, as his experienced team is down by 16 points to the visiting Buffalo Bulls as Ronaldo Segu cashes in and Janithan Williams with the Euro step lay in score, and the Bulls up big in the Carrier Dome. And the Bulls have really been able to come out of the locker room and pick up right where they left off and pick up the slack of so let's say Janithan Williams can't get to the basket off a screen or can't cut inside or do a backdoor cut, then the Bulls are there to pick up their teammates' slack. And that's something you're not seeing from a lot of Syracuse players. The only players that I'm seeing really picking up the pieces for the misses from Syracuse misses are Quincy Guerrier and Marek Dolezaj. And this is really it's an incohesive offensive performance for Syracuse today. And I truly believe that it is going to it's going to be a tough road to come back from. A 16-point deficit for even the best teams are hard to come by, and it's a long road for Syracuse to come back. They need to start making 3-point baskets, as they are 0 for 10 from that in that statistical category. So not a great offensive showing from Syracuse in the early goings. They're being outscored 9-4 in the second half today, off the Janithan Williams basket. That made it a 16-point ball game, but the Syracuse has come back from crazier halftime deficits and even second half deficits, as in their 2016 Elite Eight matchup against the Virginia Cavaliers, they came back by more than 20 points to cash in and punch their ticket to the Final Four. But that was 4 years ago, and this is 2020. So really, anything can happen in this ball game. But Buffalo leading big time, and Syracuse needs to rely less on Dolezaj and Guerrier, and needs to start getting more baskets from the likes of Buddy Boeheim, Alan Griffin, and Joe Girard as well. And the Syracuse head coach Jim Boeheim, he was quite critical of Alan Griffin's performance against Northeastern on Wednesday, and he basically said that there was no excuse for Alan Griffin's performance. He's an upperclassman player and a player that is going to be needed in terms of the team's success. So the coach not really that critical of his son Buddy, rightfully so, with Julie Boeheim at home waiting, whatever that would be on him. But is Boeheim juggling through traffic with the score, and Boeheim has finally broken the seal as Buddy Boeheim gets a necessary basket for the Orange, as the Orange cut the lead to 14 points. As it's Josh Mabala elevating with the easy score, as he now has 13 points. Girard trying to get something done. He gives it off to Buddy Boeheim, the risky pass. Girard to Guerrier. Guerrier for three. Book it! The first Syracuse three, and that finally breaks a necessary drought as the Orange get a much-needed three off the feed from Joe Girard, as Quincy Guerrier buries the three. The Syracuse deficit now down to 13. Girard hitting the deck, and Mabala will cash in as the lead back up to 15. 61-46, about 5 minutes gone in this second half. Dolezaj Guerrier thought about it. No. And a foul will go on Brock Bertram, the senior from Apple Valley, Minnesota, will pick up the foul, and that's the first team foul on Buffalo of the half. 61-46. Buffalo still with a double-digit lead over Syracuse, but Quincy Guerrier finally breaking the seal for the three-point drought for Syracuse. A much-needed three-point basket from the sophomore from Montreal, Quebec, as the Orange find themselves still down by 15. And that is going to be, truthfully, a much needed component that, and I've mentioned this time and time again, that it is going to be a much that's going to be a feature that they're going to have to tap into during the second half if they're going to have any chance to erase this ugly deficit for this game. And it's interesting to see how crazy that it can fluctuate. They made 10 threes against Bryant, struggled against Ryder, struggled against the likes of Niagara, and then they go into Rutgers, and they have a little bit of a back and forth with the Scarlet Knights. Then they travel up to Chestnut Hill, and they make it rain threes and pour in 16 three-pointers, which was a school record for the Orange. And now against Northeastern, they have 2 three-pointers, shoot just 11% from downtown, and now they are just shooting 1 for 10 from three-point land. And that doesn't sit well with me, and I don't think that should sit well with Coach Boeheim either, as the Orange are 1 for 12 rather, just shooting 8%. 8%. Put that in your stat books if you're taking notes and game notes on this ball game. But just 8% from downtown for the Orange, and really the shooting woes are evident on overall, only shooting 30 just around 36% from the field, while Buffalo is shooting well close to 56% and is shooting nearly 50% from the three-point line. So a lot of differentials and disparities, offensive disparities for both sides in the early goings of this second half. But Syracuse looking to cut into this 15-point second half deficit. They're down 61-46 against the visiting squad. But it is back to the Carrier Dome we go, and Syracuse looking for answers. 61-46. We obviously saw Quincy Guerrier, the step back three, kind of reminded me of Kemba Walker, the former UConn standout, with his legendary step back threes. But Guerrier getting it to go, and they are really missing the defensive presence of Barama Sidibe, the senior center. He obviously he is injured, and that's going to be a much needed return for Sidibe, as Guerrier cashes in on both to make it a 13-point game. Williams will get the inbound duty to Mabala, and the Bulls have numbers. And the Bulls will get it to go, and no basket is being called for Buffalo. An offensive interference for the Bulls. Here comes Syracuse trying to continue to cut into this lead. Guerrier thought about the three. He'll drive it, and it will stay Syracuse basketball off the hard-net rejection. But what I am liking from Guerrier is he yes, he is going against the likes of Mabala, who is 6'7", and Guerrier is only Guerrier. Yes, he's 6'7", but Mabala is a different 6'7". Mabala has just this overwhelming size to him that Guerrier just doesn't have. Guerrier for three, that won't fall, and he is fouled on the 3-point shot, and that is something you do not do. You do not foul on the three, and that foul will go on Janithan Williams. As Guerrier, he has 16 points. That won't fall. And free throws are a must for this Syracuse team if they're trying to crawl back into this game. That hits the back iron. Boeheim certainly looking quite stressed out off the team's misses. He hits the third one, and it's a 12-point game, 61-49. Kadari Richmond coming back in for the tired Joe Girard III, as Girard gets a much-needed rest. The high pressure defense. Richmond, nope. But it is Williams. That is off the rejection. The nice save. And it is off the foot of an Orangeman, and it will stay Buffalo basketball with 16 on the shot clock. With Nickelberry inbounding the ball. Nickelberry trying to find someone, as it is Williams being guarded by Guerrier, now by Boeheim. This is Segu. The Bulls have to do something. Mabala loses it. And a foul on Syracuse. That is their first of the half. As Mabala hits the deck. 20 on the shot clock. The Bulls getting a fresh 20. A football-like pass to Mabala, as the Bulls will try and reset their offense. Trying to get something to go. 10 on the shot clock. Williams will try it from three. That won't fall. Richmond tears down the rebound. The Orange have numbers. Buddy Boeheim, the coast-to-coast, the junior from Fayetteville, getting it to go. And an offensive foul, Marek Dolajai taking the heat from Josh Mabala. And it will be Syracuse basketball, as the Bulls giving all the necessary opportunities for the Orange to get back into this ball game. But the beauty coast-to-coast lane drive by Buddy Boeheim. And here come the Orange, the freshman Kadari Richmond controlling the point. Woody Newton also back in for the Orange. Boeheim trying to cash in again. He hits from the charity stripe. Buddy Boeheim is feeling it. Back-to-back baskets for the coach's son. And the lead down to 8. Heavy traffic for the Bulls. Gives it in to Hardnett. And Mabala is fouled. A second team foul on the Orange, as Mabala will go to the charity stripe. A familiar area for Josh Mabala tonight. 17 points, a player that only averages 7 coming into this game. He connects. 18 points for the junior from France. The second shot coming for Mabala. And he sinks both back to a 10-point game. How will the Orange respond? Kadari gives it off to Boeheim. Boeheim has had the hot hand. Boeheim through heavy traffic. That won't fall. Dolajai with the scrappy rebound, but it's Guerrier, and he is fouled again, and he will go back to the free throw line. as fouls are starting to pile up on Buffalo's side, and the Bulls looking somewhat confused about the foul. Here is Guerrier for 2, and that will hit. Hardnett, the sophomore from Philadelphia, trying to plead his case to the refs about why it shouldn't have been a foul, as Guerrier inks both, and it's back to an 8-point ball game. LaQuil Hardnett in foul trouble for the Bulls. Here come the Bulls. Hardnett, that won't fall, as here come the Orange in transition. Kadari Richmond. And it's a kicked ball. It will stay with Syracuse. 12:46 left in the second half. From the Carrier Dome here in the beautiful Syracuse, New York. But a strip pass. Here come the Orange. And Dolezaj. And he tries to draw the foul. That he'll pass it out to his teammate Buddy. Off to Guerrier. Guerrier for 3. That won't fall, as it is Guerrier losing his footing, and it will stay with, rather, it will go back to the Orange with 12:21 to play. Richmond, 9-2 run for the Orange, and it's a foul on Buffalo, as Kadari Richmond will go to the free throw line. As the foul being either on Hardnett or Segu. It's on Hardnett, his 4th foul, as Richmond banks in the first one. The lead down to 7, 63-56. Free throws have been a worrisome for Syracuse, as they have left 6 points at the charity stripe. How close this ball game could be. He can't get that one to fall, as it rattles out. Mabala with the rebound. Almost lost by Syracuse, by Buffalo rather. Approaching 8 minutes gone in the second half. Williams inside, being guarded by Dolezaj with the beautiful kiss off the window. Janithan Williams getting back on the offensive stat sheet, and he clocks that in to give the Bulls a 9-point lead. And a turnover. Here come the Bulls. The Bulls have numbers. And that will go, as the lead now eclipses double digits once again. The kick out to Boeheim. Boeheim for 3. No! The Orange sticking with it. Richmond will draw the foul, as the freshman from Brooklyn puts the Orange in the bonus off the Boeheim miss, as the Orange lead 67-56. And the Orange are what I'm noticing are hitting the gas and then allowing Buffalo to come back in and really punish this Syracuse defense that has seemed at points non-existent, and has really been and that needs to be a point of emphasis. Yes, you need to hit quality shots and make your baskets. However, if you're this was evident in the Iowa-Gonzaga game, when Iowa, a prolific offensive team, putting up 88 points per game, and a team that averages nearly 100 points per game, allowed 100 points versus Gonzaga. You are only going to go as far as your defense takes you, and your offense could do wonders. They truly could do so many things. But if your defense is allowing easy basket after easy basket, then you're not going to win many basketball games. And the Orange, yes, we haven't passed the halfway point of the second half, but we're getting close to that, and we're getting to the danger zone, that I like to call it, and that is where it is a double-digit deficit is quite hard to come back from, and we're teetering on that danger zone for this Syracuse team if they're wanting to come back. Obviously, after the timeout, Kadari Richmond will be at the free throw line. That foul that he drew put the Orange in the bonus for the second half, and the Bulls have really been those fouls have really been a kryptonite for this Buffalo squad. If there are any blemishes from this team thus far, 16 personal fouls and team fouls to account for Buffalo. However, their assist to turnover ratio is pretty good at +8. Assist to turnover ratio 18-10 for the Bulls. As for the Orange, a 10-4 turnover assist to turnover ratio for Jim Boeheim's club, as they hold a +6 differential in that category. But the Orange trying to crawl their way back from a now double-digit deficit, 67 to 56 from the Carrier Dome, as the Orange trying to get anything to go for a win, a 6-point win out of the timeout. Woody Newton and Kadari Richmond seeing some high quality minutes. The freshmen, the two highest rated freshmen for the Orange in quite a while. Richmond 7 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 blocks. His rebounding presence, as well as his elevating game, has been quite tremendous. As Kadari Richmond will shoot free throws, he connects on the first. Back to a 10-point game, 67-57. And Gerard, a player that has struggled, 1 for 6 from the floor, 0 for 3 from downtown, and that the second end of the 1-and-1 rolls out for the for the freshman, and it's a foul. And it was Keyshawn Bruin angrily throwing the ball at the senior from Slovakia, to the confusion of Marek Dolezaj. 11:25 left in this second half. 20 on the shot clock as the Bulls will reset. And Nickelberry will inbound to his teammate Graves. Graves trying to get something to go inside. That won't fall as Griffin pulls down the rebound. Griffin with the pass and the two-handed flush to Marek Dolezaj to make it a 8-point game as the senior gets it to fall. No, that won't fall. Richmond with the rebound. Here comes the, and it is out of bounds off the Bulls. And it will go to Syracuse, but Alan Griffin, the feed to Marek Dolezaj. He elevates, climbs the invisible ladder for the two-handed slam. Richmond going inside. He passes it to Dolezaj. Dolezaj with the nice floater, and that goes. The lead now down to 6 with 10.5 to go. Nickelberry passing to Mabala. Mabala left alone. He passes it out to Mabala, being guarded. The double team, he gets it. He breaks the double team of Guerrier and Griffin for the lay-in. The Orange down by 8, approaching 10 minutes gone in the second half. Boeheim going inside. That'll fall as Buddy Boeheim with the easy delivery, as it's now back to a 6-point game as we Just past the 10-minute mark of the second half. Nickelberry with the ball, giving it off to Williams. Williams back in the hands of Williams, being guarded. And he'll go in through heavy traffic as Janithan Williams, the junior, using the little shake and bake to get the score. Kadari Richmond off the screen and rejected by Williams as Janithan Williams with the monster block. Credit that to Josh Mabala. 9:33 to play. The Orange trying to continue to cut. Richmond at the free throw line. He hits the first. The lead down to 7. 71-64. Mabala was given the foul as Richmond hits 2 necessary free throws to make it a 6-point game, 71-65. However, they've allowed 42 points in the paint during this ball game. Segu comes back. Segu being guarded by Griffin. Back in the hands of Nickelberry. Segu giving it inside to Mabala. And an offensive foul. Merrick Dolajai, he is a player that is always willing to take a charge as he takes the left elbow of Mabala. As the Orange offense will reset. Here comes Syracuse. Kadari Richmond has been an offensive playmaker in the second half. Gives it off to Dolajai. Now back in the hands of Richmond. And Richmond has it stolen away. Here come the Bulls. And Javon Graves with nobody home. He flushes it in for the score. The lead now back up to 8. Kadari Richmond. What will this Orange answer with? Dolajai gives it off to Boeheim. Boeheim utilizing the miss, but it's Griffin with the putback, and the Orange have an answer. And Syracuse now cutting this lead to 6. 73-67 Syracuse. Graves back in the hands of Segu. Williams trying to find someone. The Bulls try from outside. No. Dolajai with the rebound. And Dolajai gives it off to his freshman teammate, Kadari Richmond. Kadari Richmond trying to run up a play. 16 on the shot clock. He goes inside to Buddy Boeheim. Boeheim from in the paint. No, that won't fall. Mabala with the rebound. He gives it off to Segu. And Segu gives it off to Graves. Graves, who elevated his game quite literally, and that will go with the easy lay-in for Javon Graves back to an 8-point game. How will the Orange respond? Dolajai looking for it as he has it tipped away, but stays with it, and he'll go the way, and he'll drive in the lane and get the lay-in as Merrick Dolajai lays it in off his almost costly turnover. That would have been an easy basket in transition for Buffalo as the Bulls lead now down to 6. Williams looking for it. The double team. Trying to find someone. He finds Graves. 8 on the shot clock. The Bulls have to go. That won't fall. The glass not nice to him as Guerrier pulls on the rebound. Buddy Boeheim trying to have the Orange reset. He gives it off to Griffin. Griffin for 3. Book it. Alan Griffin with the hands of Janithan Williams in his face as Alan Griffin secures only the second 3-point basket for the Orange as Alan Griffin does it all. He has the putback off the Boeheim miss and then books it for the 3-point splash as the Orange now are only down by 3 points, 75-72 Buffalo lead. And this is going to be a necessary element as we approach what we are now in the danger zone. If this was a double-digit lead for Buffalo, but this is going to be after the 3-point splash by Alan Griffin off the feed from Marek Dolezaj. Truly, the sky is the limit for this team. A lot is clicking for this Syracuse team in terms of offensive production, and I'm liking what I am seeing from the Syracuse side as Buffalo forced to take a timeout as a quick 5 points for Jim Boeheim's club, and thanks in part to Buddy Boeheim with the nice kiss floater from the paint, and then Alan Griffin off the feed from Marek Dolezaj as he gets it to go from downtown to make it a 75-72 ball game as Alan Griffin now has 9 points, but it is Quincy Guerrier stealing the show. He now has 19 points, 8 rebounds, so he is so close to a double-double. That would be his 4th double-double of the season. He is a double-double machine. I truly think that they should start nicknaming Guerrier Double-Double, but that's just my preference. But Quincy Guerrier, yes, getting it going on really all cylinders of this basketball game. 19 points, and also Marek Dolezaj, 15 points as well. He's really stepping up for the likes of Joe Girard, who has not had a quite powerhouse of a game and hasn't really had a crazy game and not filling the stat sheet, if you will, tonight against the Bulls. But this is a barn burner. Buffalo 75, Syracuse 72 from the Carrier Dome in the Salt City. The Orange are outscoring the Bulls 35-27 in the second half, and that is thanks in part to Quincy Guerrier and Marek Dolezaj. What they have been able to do on both the offensive and defensive ends of the floor have been tremendous for Syracuse, and any Syracuse fan should be treating themselves to the works of both players. Back out of the Buffalo timeout, the Bulls looking for an answer as they need one, as it is now a 75-72 victory. Ball game rather. Not trying to cut it short. 6:24 left in the ball game as Mabala on the bench for getting his foot tended to. Segu being guarded by Richmond. As Bruton now back into the game for the Bulls. Segu needs to do something. 4 on the shot clock. A foul will be called. And that is on Buddy Boeheim. The foul going on the junior for Syracuse. A fresh 20 for the Bulls. Graves controlling the inbound. Gives it to Segu. Back in the hands of Bruton. Now to Graves. Graves inside. He'll look for almost stepping out of bounds, but here's Bruton. Bruton to Graves. Graves for 3. No, that's off the mark. Here come the Orange. 5:38 to play. Richmond inside. He'll find Dolezaj. Dolezaj looking for anyone. He has his pocket picked as the Bulls will get a timeout, a much-needed timeout to avoid the turnover But Boeheim is not happy as Bertram held the ball, but still called the timeout. The Bulls still up by 3 points, 75-72. 5:26 left in this ball game, but Marek Dolezaj having his pocket picked upside and forcing the turnover from Brock Bertram. But Dolezaj, yes, despite the turnover, he has been able to do tremendous things on the offensive end of the floor. 15 points and 8 rebounds for the senior, and he's going to be a crunch time player for this ball club. And shooting 6 for 8 from the floor right now for Marek Dolezaj. 75-72. Williams will inbound to Segu. The Bulls need a basket. What will they do? Williams gives it off to Graves. Back in the hands of Williams. Williams has had the hot hand from 3. He gives it off to Graves. And the lucky bounce for the Bulls, as that is Kayshawn Bruton, the senior from Spartanburg, South Carolina, gets it to fall. The Orange need an answer. Boeheim gives it to Guerrier. Guerrier going inside. Back to Dolezaj. Off to Richmond. Richmond elevates. Book it. Kadari Richmond elevating his game. And it's a 4-point game. 78-74 Buffalo. Segu gives it off to Williams. The carousel passes. Back into the hands of Segu. Being guarded by Richmond. Now Graves being guarded by Boeheim. Segu inside. That won't fall. Despite the much-needed defense, Segu for 3, and there will be a Dolezaj not happy, and he is upset, but looking back at the Bruton 3, that hit all edges of the rim. And Dolezaj collecting the fouls. He now has 4 fouls, much like LaQuil Hardnett, who also has 4 fouls on the for Buffalo. And it will be Alan Griffin who took the offensive charge. He'll, from Buffalo, from Bertram, he'll go to the charity stripe to shoot a pair. Alan Griffin now in the double bonus. 4:16 left on the game clock as he hits the first. And Alan Griffin, he was a part of that very ugly offensive performance with Boeheim. He has 11 points and 6 rebounds now for the junior transfer. But Boeheim and Griffin only 1 for 16 against Northeastern on Wednesday. The towering defense, it will be Syracuse basketball with 4:02 left on the play clock. As the towering defense from the SU Bigs gets it to go. Dolezaj now at the top of the key. He'll drive it inside. Dolezaj winning the mismatch battle and uses the kiss off the glass to tie this ball game up at 78. Marek Dolezaj getting it done. The Bulls will try and reset. Segu tries to get something going. Graves calling for it. Now it's into the hands of Bruton. Now back into the hands of Graves. 8 on the shot clock. Bruton. Segu going inside. And it's taken away. The Orange. Here come the Orange. Alan Griffin has to try and not have his pocket picked. Griffin with the quick reversal. That won't fall. Here come the Bulls. And a dive for the ball as another timeout as Buffalo uses their last timeout of the game as we hit 3 minutes gone in this 3 minutes left in this ball game, 78-78, and that is going to be interesting to see how that plays in. Buffalo using their last timeout for of the second half, and if you're in a high pressure situation, if you're Buffalo, you're going to want, and if you're coach and if you're Coach Throger, you're going to want those timeouts. Sadly, gonna be missing out on those opportunities as the Bulls use their last timeout to avoid the turnover against the potent Syracuse defense. So we are tied at 78-78. The Orange now outscoring Buffalo 41-30, a plus 11 second half differential for Syracuse, and it's truly shown as the offensive production has definitely come alive in this in the latter parts of the second half, and it is going to be a crunch time situation for both squads as Buffalo tries to stave off a Syracuse rally, and Syracuse looks to rally from as much as a 16-point deficit. We have a very exciting game here in the 3-1-5. 78-78 for both ball clubs, and looking at the foul trouble, Marek Dolezaj, obviously we've been engrossed by his playmaking ability today. 17 points for the senior. However, he has 4 fouls, much like LaQuill Hardnett, who also has 4 fouls, the sophomore from Philadelphia, for the Bulls. And the Bulls, speaking of the Bulls, they are back in the offensive play sets for this ball game, as they're looking to have an answer for Syracuse, as they're going to need a answer for this charging Syracuse offense, as it is all tied up at 78. How will this game end? As this game has turned into a high scoring ball game, very high scoring, as the Bertram, the senior from Apple Valley, hitting the deck, as did Griffin, but it came away Bulls basketball with 3 on the shot clock. And the Bulls will give inbounding duties to Janithan Williams, as the Bulls inbound it to Segu. Back in the hands of Segu. To Graves. Now to Williams. Williams being guarded by a plethora of players. The Bulls have to go. Williams inside. He dishes it out to Mabala. Mabala with the heavy in-traffic basket. A much-needed basket for Buffalo. They now lead 80-78. Now how will Syracuse answer? Kadari Richmond gives the low ball pass to Dolezaj. Dolezaj going inside. He gets it, and he will be fouled as Josh Mabala is confused by the foul. Now the Orange are in the double bonus, as the leading scorer for Buffalo is not happy with that call. So 80-78 Buffalo. Dolezaj, who is 3 for 5 from the charity stripe, he hits it. Pulls the Orange back within 1. 80-79. 2:26 left in this game. 5 players in double figures for Syracuse. 19 for Quincy Guerrier, and now 19 for Marek Dolezaj, as it's all knotted up at 80. So what will the Orange do? Now playing defense. In the crunch minutes, Graves gives it off to Segu. Back in the hands of Graves. Being guarded by, double-teamed by Richmond and Griffin, but now it's in the hands of Bruton. And Bruton gets the score elevating now 82-80. As the excitement is alive, and I can just imagine the imaginary fans in the Carrier Dome, how they would be on their feet. Boeheim with the ball, gives it off to Griffin. Griffin inside. Griffin will cut through the lane, and the easy score through traffic ties it up at 82 once again, 82-82. And this has become a blockbuster event. Must-see basketball. The feed to Bruton. That won't fall. Boeheim with the vital rebound as the dish to Guerrier. Guerrier, count it, and the foul. And it is their first lead since it was 16:05 in the first half, as it is now 84-82. Syracuse. Guerrier getting it done. He now has over 20 points. And count the free throw, 85-82. Syracuse with just 75 ticks left on the game clock. And there's a foul on the play. That will go against Kadari Richmond. Kadari Richmond pleading his case. And that puts Buffalo in the bonus. No free throws just yet. Syracuse still with some fouls to give with 6. Segu giving it off. Inside to Mabala. Mabala elevating. He lays it in. It's 85-84. Under a minute to play. Here comes Kadari Richmond. Being guarded by Segu. Back in the hands of Dolezaj. Dolezaj goes inside. Thought about it. Gives it off to Richmond. Richmond on the outside. He drives it in. He has to go 7 on the shot clock. He elevates over Segu. That won't fall, but Griffin with the putback. Yes, 87-84. Syracuse with 30 seconds to play. How is Buffalo going to respond? As it's into the hands of Janithan Williams. Into the hands of Ronaldo Segu. Ronaldo Segu for 3. Yes, 87-87. As we are all knotted up at 87. Timeout Syracuse. A feature that Buffalo does not have. 13.4 on the game clock for the Orange, as the Orange can hold for a final shot. But Alan Griffin with the beautiful putback off the Kadari Richmond miss. And then on the other end, it was Ronaldo Segu, number 10 in black. He gets it to fall as they knotted up at 87. As there are 13.4 left on the game clock. And what will happen in the Carrier Dome? We'll be seeing free basketball. That is yet to be determined. But 13.4 on the game clock. I would look for either Guerrier or Dolezaj to take the last shot if you are Syracuse. And the timeout for Syracuse. The Orange have scored 50 points in this second half. 50. As we are all tied up at 87. But Mabala using his physicality. Josh Mabala leading the charge for Buffalo with 23 points. Rather, 25 points. That is a career high for the junior. And Syracuse will try and write up a play as they're trying to go home early and not have to dish it out in overtime. 13.4 left on the game clock. Like I said, Dolezaj will have the inbound. He gives it off to Richmond. We're at 10. Back in the hands of Dolezaj. Dolezaj. And no foul called. The rejection. Guerrier, a heave at the buzzer. Good if it goes. No, it's just off the mark, and we have free basketball in the Salt City as we will be heading to overtime, 87-87. As it's stellar defense by Buffalo to keep the Orange at bay, but back with free basketball as we are tied at 87 between the visiting Buffalo Bulls and the home team, the Syracuse Orange, as Syracuse with the denying the go-ahead baskets by Buffalo as Dolezaj was looking for the foul, but Griffin credited with the block as almost just a little too high for Quincy Guerrier in a what would have made Sports Center top 10 free highlight reel, but it is 87-87 heading into overtime between these two in-state foes. And I doubt this is what head coach Andreas Thorpe was thinking, that he was going to have to fill in for the absent Jim Whitesell. So 5 extra minutes of basketball. Who will win it as the Orange look locked in from around like the middle of the second half? The Orange have seemed locked in, really being able to force a comeback as both teams weren't looking forward to having to dish it out in overtime. But hey, whatever happens, happens. A much higher scoring game than previously thought, as it will be Mabala and Guerrier with the tip. Guerrier controls it into the hands of Richmond. And here come the Orange in overtime. Kadari Richmond at the top of the key, being guarded by Segu. Back in the hands of Griffin. Griffin being guarded by fellow number 0, Nickelberry. And that with the easy roll in, and it is now 89-87. Syracuse with the lead. 4.5 minutes left in the overtime. Just about 30 seconds gone. As Nickelberry. And there's a foul on Alan Griffin, and Alan Griffin is not happy. 7 team fouls in the second half, as that will put the Bulls at line for a 1-1. Williams knocks down the first. And looking at that foul, hitting the fingertips, Alan Griffin did, of Janithan Williams, as Williams has 18 points. Has had a tremendous second half, the Rochester native has, and the second one rolls out. Here come the Orange. Alan Griffin being guarded by Nickelberry, and he has it stolen away, but back in the hands of Boeheim. No one's home, and it's Quincy Guerrier with the two-handed flush, as the lead now is at 9 points with just under a minute gone in overtime. Mabala inside. That won't fall. Williams with the rebound. That won't fall either, and it will be back to Syracuse. But Griffin off the almost turnover. Boeheim dishes it in to Quincy Guerrier as Guerrier slams it home with the two-handed slam off the dime from Buddy Boeheim. Boeheim inside. He'll try to get something going. That won't fall. Griffin Yes, please, says Alan Griffin, as Alan Griffin gets it to go. 93-88, a minute and a half gone left in this overtime period. The Bulls dish it inside to Mabala, count it, and the foul. As that foul will go. If that's Dolezaj, that's his fifth, and which means he would foul out of the game. And the Orange will take a timeout. Rather, a false charge timeout. That won't fall into the hands of Richmond as Richmond tears down the rebound. Here come the Orange. Kadari Richmond gives it off to Buddy Boeheim. Boeheim back in the hands of Richmond. Richmond kicks it out to Guerrier. Guerrier for three. And it rattles home. Quincy Guerrier, a much-needed in-pressure three as the Orange lead now up to 6, 96-90. A critical three-point shot by the sophomore from Montreal. As Guerrier has now eclipsed 30 points. And he is putting on a clinic against Buffalo today. His fourth double-double of his career. The elbow shot from Segu gets it to go down to a 4-point lead. 96-92. Richmond slowing things down. Time's on the Orange's side. Kadari Richmond behind the back. Here comes Boeheim being guarded by Graves. Boeheim elevating. He'll hit it. Buddy Boeheim. And he's starting to heat up in overtime. 98-92 Syracuse. Bruton being guarded by Richmond. Back into the hands of Segu. Approaching 2 minutes left in the overtime period. That won't fall. Griffin pulling it down, and it's back in the hands of Syracuse. As Mabala picking up the foul. But who would have thought Syracuse is potentially going to eclipse 100 points, but it is Josh Mabala, 27 points he's fouled out, done wonders for the Bulls today, as Alan Griffin uses the back glass to rattle that in. 99-92 Syracuse. And an exciting game from the Orange today. And he connects on both. The junior transfer from Illinois and the Orange have eclipsed 100 points for the second time this season, the first being a 38-point win against Boston College last weekend. Griffin bobbles the rebound. And now he gives it away. Here come the Orange. 143 left in overtime. How are the Orange going to do it? They have an 8-point lead. Approaching a minute and a half left in overtime. 13 on the shot clock. Griffin almost loses it. Being guarded by Graves. And he will go back to the free throw line. As there was 9 on the shot clock. Alan Griffin starting to feel it. As he could potentially tie a career high. As he sinks the first one, nothing but nylon. 101-92 Syracuse. And that won't fall. As he misses the second end. Back into the hands of Richmond. Scrappy play as the ACC leader in steals is fouled with just 75 ticks left on the game clock as it is 101-92. Having to Griffin dabbing up Kadari Richmond. Boeheim not happy. as a little bit of an exchange of words between the head coach and Alan Griffin, as Kadari Richmond misses the front end. And he connects on the second. A 10-point lead for Syracuse. 75 seconds to play. Does Buffalo have some late heroics in them? Segu gives it off to Graves. Almost picked off. Graves inside. And he'll get it to go from the weak elbow. 102-94 as Buffalo will use their only overtime timeout, as they are now down by 8. 102-94 is the deficit that they find themselves in. Interim head coach Thorpe's bring on the aspirin, as this has been definitely a headache-inducing game. A Buffalo team that blew a 16-point lead and had the Orange storm back to force overtime. It's all tied up at 87, and then they were outscored 50 to 39 in the second half. So a plus 11 differential for the Orange in the second half, and then in overtime a plus 8 differential for Syracuse, as they have outscored the Bulls 15-7 in this overtime period. So 102-94 off the basket from Graves. The little kiss from the weak elbow. And now up next for the Orange, they will return to ACC play on Tuesday night as they host the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, a Fighting Irish team that just lost to the Purdue Boilermakers by 10 in the Crossroads Classic. As for the Bulls, they will be staying in the Buffalo area as they will be traveling to Olean, New York for the tilt with the St. Bonaventure Bonnies. That will be also on Tuesday, as the Bonnies have had somewhat of a interesting season, as they've had some A10 games and one non-conference game. This will be their second non-conference game for the Bonnies. But yes, the Orange are back in action in ACC play on Tuesday against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and the Bulls are back on the court on Tuesday as well, as they take on the St. Bonaventure Bonnies. So 104 left on the game clock. Just about 60 seconds left. Can the Orange stave off a Buffalo comeback? And how will the Orange adjust their defense after right now giving up 94 points? But it'll be Dolezaj with the inbound. He finds Boeheim. Boeheim is fouled, and Boeheim will go to the free throw line to shoot a pair. There's 103 left on the shot clock. Excuse me, on the game clock, rather. Only Dolezaj getting some necessary advice from the 45th year head coach, which I'm sure that's always helpful. For a player, a coach that's been in the game for 45 years as a coach, as Boeheim hits the second, he now has 19 points. Make it 20 points rather. 103-94, a minute remaining. As if you're Buffalo, you got to do something. Segu with the miss, as Griffin tears down the rebound with the help of Guerrier. Here come the Orange. Richmond with the cross-court pass into Griffin. Griffin inside, and he is fouled. And I always love, you just saw Boeheim with the after whistle three. You gotta love it. Especially if they're in a scoring drought and there's no and then they make the three. That's always fun. Griffin connects on the first to a 10-point lead. Griffin all smiles as he ties a career high with 24 points. 105-94 Syracuse, as they have really taken over this overtime period off the Janithan Williams miss. That won't go, as it will be Syracuse basketball. 34.5 ticks left in this game, and frustration as the upset bid doesn't look likely for the Buffalo Bulls, as there's about a 3-second difference between the game clock and shot clock. Richmond dribbling it out, trying to milk some clock. But Syracuse will advance to 6-1 and have now won 3 straight games. Wins over Boston College, Northeastern, and now Buffalo. The Bulls will fall to 3-3, as the Bulls will be back in action against the St. Bonaventure Bonnies in Olean, New York on Tuesday the 22nd. Syracuse will be back in action against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish as they resume ACC play on Tuesday as well. 4.1 seconds left in overtime. 105-94. A little bit of a smile from Boeheim. And that will do it. Syracuse with the 11-point victory over Buffalo. 107-96 is your final. Syracuse outscores the Bulls 20-9 in overtime, holds a +11 differential in the extra period, and has 5 players in double figures, with Guerrier leading the way with 27. For Courtside with Sam Barber, I'm Sam Barber. If you liked what you saw today, please be sure to subscribe on my channel and leave a comment as well. For next time, I'm Sam Barber, and have a great day.